Oh, Mrs. Garcia, how do you balance it all? You're a school counselor and new homeowner, a mother of two, and grad student. You're an Ander. At National University, we see the whole you. That's why we're dedicated to your professional growth through faculty mentorships and career support, so you can focus on what matters most. National University, supporting the whole you. Learn more at nu.edu.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
I'm going to go in right now. Here are your home run props. Eugenio Suarez is the shortest on the board at plus 165.
Come on.
Corbin Carroll plus 175. Seiya Suzuki plus 255. I can't believe Brandon's going to do this. This is the sweatiest no-run first inning you'll play so far this year. If you want any part of that, it'll be plus money. But I've never seen homer prices this short.
And we begin the Monday edition of VSiN By The Books with a flashback to Friday. If you recall on the show Friday, and a good Monday morning to you, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Dave Ross here at Circus Sports, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. And we said, wind's blowing out at Wrigley, you got to play some home run props. Now, for the longest time, and Brandon played that no-run first inning, and you mentioned it at plus money, Jensen, it gets home.
Oh, God.
It gets home with ease. And all of a sudden, it's 2-1 in the bottom of the seventh for the highest run total we've had so far this year there, where it was 11, and it was juiced heavily to the over on Friday. And then all hell broke loose, Jensen. And hopefully, if you're listening on Friday, you cash a lot of tickets on home run props. Over gets home overwhelmingly, 13-11 being the final.
Unbelievable. Great to be with you, buddy, for another fun week. Happy NFL draft week to those that celebrate. I don't know what was crazier. Watching that transpire, I felt horrible for Jonathan Davis, who we were talking to in the break before we did our Stanley Cup postseason breakdown. And I said, hey, if you've ever wanted to blindly bet an over, this is the one to do it. And Michelle and I are sitting, at the restaurant next to PNC Park because we went to go to Pittsburgh to watch the Guardians and the Pirates. I'm like, I've let everyone down. I feel absolutely horrendous. And then all of a sudden I checked the box score and I'm like, no, I did not. This was as rocking chair a winner. We should have bet the alt line. We should have bet over 18, 19, 20. I've never seen a team, Dave, score 10 runs in an inning, go ahead by multiple runs and not be able to get it across the line. I don't know what was crazier, the ending, the final three innings to that game, or if you were a Vegas Golden Knights better on the puck line and an over better last night with 0.1 seconds to have both those. I don't know what's crazier here in the last 72 hours.
I'm going to say, because we expected runs, right? We got them late on Friday, so we easily cashed that over. Again, some of those home run props are going to hit if you had Suarez and other guys. But last night, to get an empty netter and to literally go in at 0.1 to go from 3-2, you get the puck line, to 4-2, you get the over. I mean, there are bad beats. And again, if you're on the under and you've got under 5.5, or you've got the puck line, you're getting that goal and a half. We're going to get to some of those. It was across sports, obviously, that we saw over the weekend. Some of those yesterday, even in the world of golf. But I mean, Jensen, that one last night right here in Las Vegas, that is as brutal as it gets if you're on the other side. And I guess on the other side, if you're the winner of that, remember those. Remember those sweet ones that you do not expect that you get with 1/10 of a second when you get some of those bad beats that inevitably are going to happen.
Absolutely. And so the pendulum swings both ways. But, buddy, what a fun one yesterday at the end of the week. And the craziness will continue because we know that the NBA and NHL postseason will produce some dandies for us. It's going to be just awesome to see this week.
Yeah, it really is nice to have these second seasons here in the NBA and the NHL. They have not disappointed. I mean, some of the a little bit lackluster in some of what we saw last night, but all of them can't be down to the wire like we saw with VGK last night. Great show lined up. We're going to catch up with Cody Decker, as we like to do on a Monday here, get his thoughts from the weekend in Major League Baseball. Daily Diamond, of course, maybe some solar power that you're going to be talking about today. The King of Connecticut, Will Hill, is going to join us, talk some NBA playoffs. And then it's VSiN By The Books, so we always like to go to the books with Carl Johnson is going to join us down there at Beau Rivage, talking about if they're getting handle here so far on the NBA playoffs and the NHL and beyond. So a lot to get to there, but here on this Monday to begin the show, let's get to our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
Now, we did see some rather monstrous performances in Major League Baseball, and one really did stand out yesterday. If you're Baltimore and you get the late safety and you lose 24-2 to the Reds, 25 hits, 24 runs. Now, Jensen is somebody like me that you know that the Reds is the team I keep my eye on. Can we disperse those runs later on in the week when you're going to need them? Or did you just want to get them all out of the way with that offensive explosion?
Remarkable in and of itself. I wanted to have the box score here. Remarkably, Dave, only 3 home runs were hit by the Reds. So you look at those numbers and you think, okay, well, you got to have like 6, 7, 8 home runs. Only 3 of them, Ellie De La Cruz, Noelvi Marte, and Austin Wynns there. But more so, you got a couple, yes, more than one position player that had to pitch for the Baltimore Orioles. And that in of itself, I think is a bullpen guy. Where I have seen that transpire during my major league tenure, where we did have to have a position player come in and pitch, and that's always the embarrassment factor for that team that it happens for, because you're like, there's no reason ever a major league game should get this out of hand. To have two position players have to pitch. Ooh,
wow,
that's a horrible one to have to stomach.
You mentioned Austin Wynns. He was batting ninth there for the Redlegs. He went from 267. In his average, and this happens early in the year in April, right? Yeah. To 455 by going 6 for 7 with 6 RBIs. That's like a week in a day. You just had a whole full week, and now you're hitting 455 on the season. By the way, the Reds going to play today. Nick Lodolo is going to go against Mac Meyer of the Fighting Fish down there in Miami. I wonder what the run total will be when that comes out later on, because Jensen, you know how this works, right? Baseball is such a weird sport. Would you play the under? It's kind of like when a golfer goes out there, shoots a super low round on a Thursday. Do you want to play them to go over whatever that total is going to be on a Friday, or can there be some carryover here?
Oh, there could be some carryover. A total right now hung at 8 here down for Marlins Park there between the Reds and the Marlins. 59% of the bets, 54% of the handles. So as we usually like to do, take our first little look-see-loo through where everything. The largest total on the board, ironically here, is the White Sox and the Red Sox. Happy Patriots Day to those that celebrate too. That's a 9er out there. Only that total is the only one that has reached 9 or higher. Everything else 8.5 and under. So anxious to see kind of where Tito runs that lineup out today. But yeah, you want to keep the good vibes going. You want to keep pouncing. They're up against tough customer. Max Meyer has been absolutely phenomenal for the Marlins to start thus far this year.
4.5 is that team total for the Reds.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. I would agree. That's tough. Thinking about where that is, just knowing that Max Meyer's been good, Lodolo has been great. So the under might be the lean initially right there.
Total of 8 right now. It is juiced to the under at $1.18. So don't fall for the trap. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to carry over, but you would hope for the Reds backers out there would. Could there be carryover in Game 2 between the Lakers tonight against the T-Wolves? Because Game 1, all Minnesota, all the time. How about this? Franchise record 21 threes in this one, and they get that 117-95 win, non-competitive there. And actually, that Game 2 is going to be tomorrow night back in L.A. That's 5.5 for the Lakers, 214 here. Talk about carryover. What'd you make of the T-Wolves raining it down on L.A.?
Yeah, I think this was handicapped quite well by our guests we had, our experts last week, right? That this was a series that was circled along with the Rockets and the Warriors of potentially the wrong team is favored. Mm-hmm. And knowing what the Timberwolves had done into the end of the regular season, that carryover, what the matchup might look like. I listened to JJ Redick in-game interview and post-game. He is about as disgusted with his group as I think a head coach could be at that point. Lakers were flat, would fully expect them to come out with the head of steam. I thought about this before the show, Dave. Perhaps a first quarter spread might be something you look at for the Lakers, because you know they're going to be motivated. Mm-hmm. You want to get off to a much better start. And conversely, can Minnesota be as lethal from deep? If they are, Lake Show is in a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah, that would definitely be the handicap there for me, is to look early, if not first quarter, first half. Right now, by the way, the series price on this has now flipped, and the T-Wolves are now the betting favorite, $1.50 on the series price here. So if you like the Lakers, plus $1.25 is that comeback there. But what did you make? Like sometimes you watch a game and all right, so it's a one game, it's an anomaly. And the other one you go, oh, no. The wrong team was favored, and it should be the T-Wolves.
I think if you just kind of break down and where the box score was, fourth quarter really defense ruining the day, or at least leading the day. Naz Reid, when you have 6 threes, by yourself, that's going to get it done. But more so on the Lakers side, Luka, the only one that really had a dominant offensive performance, and I think we kind of expected that. I'm not sure we expected, maybe the rest of the supporting cast to be as, how shall we say, non-existent.
Yeah.
I guess, Austin Reeves did not, have 2 points in the first half. That can't happen again. He ends up with 3 threes, 16 points, but really ineffective, I think, is where I would look at the supporting cast. That's what has to change if the Lakers get the equalizer tomorrow night. It's
been pretty chalky otherwise there. Last night, of course, the Thunder just run roughshod 131-80. Over Memphis. How about that beatdown? 51 points you win by. The Celtics, pretty easy winner against the Orlando Magic, 103-86. Under cashes easily there. Your Cavs, red hot, easy win, 121-100 over the Heat in that one in game 1. And then how about last night while you were sleeping, America, the Warriors go out and hold Houston to 85 points and 34 in the first half in a 95-85 win. So Steph Curry with 31 in that one. What'd you make out of those 4 results? Anything? Your Cavs, obviously, a nice rocking chair for you.
Yeah, if you had a Ty Jerome most points ticket for the Cleveland Cavaliers Miami Heat game, holy hell, what a sweat that would have been for you. Unbelievable job. Finalist for the 6th Man of the Year award, but I think that Golden State Houston game, right? We're talking about how's the 7th seed, almost a $2 favorite in the series price. Well, Steph Curry and company making it stand up last night in game 1.
When we come back, it's a big week here, not only for us, but for the country, because we love the NFL draft. That's going to be Thursday. Let's break down the Cincinnati Bengals, talking more baseball with Cody Decker later on this hour. Whole lot to get to. It is VSiN By The Books.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Monday edition. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis here with you. And Thursday, going to be here again. If you are new to Vegas, if you're coming out to Vegas and you can't wait to watch the NFL draft, whether it's here at Circus Sports, anywhere around town, and you're like, man, Thursday, so pumped up. Let me run up to the window and you won't be able to make that bet. 24 hours, people. They're going to pull down all the props, all the offerings here in Las Vegas. So just a rule here in Nevada. So know your jurisdiction. Jensen, do you guys have that same deal, or can you bet right up to it on Thursday in Ohio?
Right up to it, and whether it be, I think, DraftKings, FanDuel, different books and operators here will have live draft props too. Ooh. So as we go through each pick, you would talk about be highly addictive. I know this is Brandon's Super Bowl, and hopefully there in the great state of Illinois, they have plenty for him to choose from. But I know for us here, and especially with the Browns, we think picking it 2. There will definitely be some correlated promos, things of that nature that they'll pop up there on Thursday morning. But yes, we will be able to kind of go through up until, I don't know if they take down certain ones once they kind of get wind that the pick is in or what that might be. But I do know leading up at least until the commissioner opens the draft, you'll have plenty to pick from, especially a couple of books here in Ohio.
Let's talk about another team there in Ohio. That's Cincinnati. They're drafting at 17 next year. And they got hot late, but it wasn't hot enough. Obviously, they had a lot of injuries last year. A lot of teams can figure out reasons why they did not make the postseason. But they closed 9-8 with 5 straight wins, and that moves them into this kind of no man's land here at 17. Look at their win total this year, and look where it's juiced. Heavily to the over 9.5 at minus $1.50. To win the division, plus 220. So, again, you look at the division, you go, man, right? They're right there with Baltimore. As, Baltimore obviously is going to be the favorites here, but you're just nipping right there at their heels. 9-1 to win the AFC. And then you see the needs there. Yeah, it's a lot of defense, if you notice on that graphic, right? You're going to corner, linebacker, safety, and edge. You got a new defensive coordinator coming in from Notre Dame. You also could always use O-line help. That's for Joey B. Get that pick at 17, one in the second, one in the third, one in the fourth, one in the fifth. That's it. So we'll find out if they try to get some more picks here later in the draft. But it's that first 5, and Jensen, they don't have a whole lot of money because they spend it a lot on their wide receiving core. So you better nail these picks. What do you think the Bengals might be looking at 17?
It feels like defense, right? Just kind of knowing the attrition that they had to go through last year and the ineptitude, if you will, in trying to pressure the quarterback outside of Trey Hendrickson on the line. I think they also look at potentially a safety, or maybe someone in the secondary. Kind of just going through and seeing. I know Shamar Stewart has been someone that's been linked to them, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. We've done this exercise the last couple of weeks, Dave, where depending on what happens in front of him, and they're at 17 there, so we also have surmised that's prime real estate for teams to either want to trade back to or jump up to. And seeing kind of where that run on some of the defensive guys, particularly the edge rushers, will be at that point. So I think we are in wait and see mode here for Cincinnati once things get past that 5th and 6th pick and seeing where some of those other gymnastics are for teams in the top 10. But you're right. I mean, I think the money part of this would lend you to, we're not going to go out and get anyone else defensively. We've got to add controllable assets and impactful assets. So I'd be shocked if they go anywhere else than defense for those first 2 picks.
Yeah, it's got to be defense, right? And so at edge right now, if you go to DraftKings, the odds here that they're going to draft a lineman, defensive lineman, and or edge rusher is minus $1.50. We talked about a lot of these prices here in the last week plus, and there are some teams you can find plus money on as to what position, not the player, what position it's going to be. Here you got to lay it at $1.50. Cornerback is plus 320. Safety, bit of a long shot at 6-1. That tells you everything you need to know right there. It's defense, defense, defense for the first 3 purported picks here in the first round. Offensive lineman is 7-1, then back to linebacker at 9-1. So it feels like, hey, Joey B, we're going to get you your guys to play wide out here, and we're going to have to rebuild this defense. And if they do that, and they hit on one of these picks, whether it's one at 7, first round at 17 overall, second round at 49, even a third rounder at 81, those guys are going to have to play, Jensen. They are not in a luxury position of best available. It's going to be by need for them, right? So if the player isn't there for them at 17 and or 49 in the second round, that's where those trade opportunities might happen that you alluded to, because they can't just say, oh, man, there goes our D lineman that we wanted. We'll take the next best run. That's not going to work for them. It's got to be slated by position, and that's because the money is going to dictate that they couldn't go out and buy the other needs that they had with a lot of holes on this defense.
Yeah, and again, so let's assume that one is to an edge rusher and kind of insert name there, because I think at 17 they'll at least still have a couple of names that they feel very good about. I think it's a second-round pick, knowing they still need secondary help. Malachi Starks was the name that jumped out from Georgia, the safety there, who would just fit seamlessly. I just don't know if he'll be there by the time they pick again, if they stay at 49. That might be one of those, hey, we might have to jump back up and try and grab someone, because let's face it, knowing where your resources are for the next couple of years financially, impactful defensive talent is going to be expensive in free agency. Mm-hmm. And so the trade market probably doesn't make any more sense to try and go out there and do that. I'm anxious to see what they do with that second pick. By the way, I'll throw this at you, and we've done this a lot with win totals. This is a team, and you mentioned, what was it, 9.5 was the number that was posted. And kind of seeing, all right, within the division, we think they can go 500. We're not worried about that. Here's the rest of the home schedule. The Patriots, they should be able to take care of business. The Jets should be able to take care of business. The Bears, interested to see what Ben Johnson's offense might put up against their defense. The Lions, going to be a really good game. The Jacksonville Jaguars should be able to take care of business. And then the Arizona Cardinals outside the division. I think we're in business there, pal. I think we really are.
If you made me play that, I normally don't like laying $1.50 on win totals, but I'm right there with you. It feels like a 10-win football team. Again, this is a 9-win football team with the injuries that they had last year. So it shows you a lot. Look, and Joey B gets comeback player of the year. I'm sure he does. Not that I'm sure he's happy with the award, but that's not exactly one that I'm sure he's going to put up there in the mantle for everybody to see every year. He wants MVP. He wants certainly get his hands on that sticky Lombardi. This is one of those wagers that you and I talked about 2 months ago that I've already got in pocket here on this team. So played them at 10-1 to win the conference, 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. Those have been shorted a little bit in the marketplace, so a little bit of value there. 9-1 now is what you're seeing, and 16-1s, 18-1s out there for the Super Bowl. But Jensen, it was all predicated on getting back the big three, as we had talked about. They got two of those guys back at wide receiver. Got to still wait. Trey Hendrickson is the other guy. But if you've got Hendrickson in the fold, and we'll see if any craziness happens on the draft. It's happened before. Go back to A.J. Brown. Right, he wanted a new deal. They'll sign him. Then they moved him to Philadelphia on draft day. We saw how that worked out for Philadelphia pretty darn well. So I'm not anticipating something like that happening. But when you are strapped for cash, that is normally the predicament you find yourself in. And I do think they're in a little bit of that dire straits here of we got to go ahead and make sure if we get Trey's back and everything's great, that's fine. But we need to get some compliments there because the defense really is thin. They can't win the same way next year, right? They can't go out there and win every game is a shootout in the 30s. They got to play a semblance of defense at some point.
Well, that's why you bring Al Golden in, right? Is to at least tighten up a bit of the edges there, to try and keep teams into the lower 20s, and that's what you hope. Because I think they do feel better that, all right, if we do have to get into a shootout, we feel really good about running it up and down. But, hey, Chase Brown, think about the semblance of their running game.
Yeah.
Was one of the larger outliers, too, is the screen pass was basically their run game because Chase Brown, smaller guys, not going to be going between the tackles the way we see traditional running offenses that way. So perhaps later on in the draft, is that's something they address as well, maybe a bigger body running back too.
Yeah, and I do like that again, 9.5 here. Not that normally don't like to lay those type of prices, but if it doesn't get out of hand and get close to that $2 mark, if you told me Joey B is going to be healthy for 17 games and it's a 9-win team last year, that is absolutely a 10-win team right now. That's how good the offense is. Maybe the best offense, dare we say, in the entire league. You want to get in on the ponies, you can do that as well. First Bet's got you covered. You sign up now. You're going to get access to exclusive promotions, bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every single day right from your phone and or your computer. You can visit First Bet. That's the number one at firstbet.com. The number one, stbet.com. You use the promo code VSiN200, score a 20% rebate on all of your wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. Do not miss out. Start betting the ponies and do so today at firstbet.com. When we come back, Jensen, let's catch up with Cody Decker, as we like to do on a Monday morning. We saw that outlier, 24-2, yesterday, but also something that happened with the Yankees yesterday. I want to get your thoughts on it here. In Max Fried's situation, had a no-hitter, then he didn't have a no-hitter. We'll talk about that and more with Cody Decker next here on VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Monday edition. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis here, and always love catching up, talking some baseball with Cody Decker on a Monday morning. Of course, he is the co-host of Beadle and Decker. Give him a follow, as I do, on X at Decker6. Joins us now here on the Progressive Guest Line. Cody, good Monday morning to you, sir. And you were right there in New York, and I alluded to this going to break with Jensen. I'm not sure if you saw what happened with Max Fried, where he had a no-hitter going into the 8th yesterday. Mm-hmm. And then he lost the no-hitter before he got to the mound to start the 8th because the official scorer went back and overturned a 6th-inning error into a base hit. I'll ask both of you guys. Cody, we'll start with you. Can we do that? He had a no-no going. He gave up a couple hits later. But,
you can absolutely
you can do that. That's legal.
Have you ever heard of CC Sabathia? They went back and changed a no-hitter 2 weeks later. And also, I listened to Michael Kay just complain and bitch about it. It was an error. It was a clear-cut error. Like, no, who's going to transport themselves over there to first base to cover first base? Max Fried was somewhere by third base at the time. Paul Goldschmidt was at the second base. The runner was already past the bag. Just until somebody invented teleportation technology and no one told me in baseball, the guy was safe twice on Sunday. What are we talking about? Michael Kay, shut up.
I tend to agree, even as a pitcher. And I was there in the flesh in the bullpen for the infamous Jim Joyce, Andres Armando Galarraga perfecto that was not. So it all comes around. Speaking of coming around, Cody, I don't know if you've ever been part of what we saw with the Cubs and the D-backs at Wrigley on Friday, where you come into it as a hitter. And we all look at the flags, especially when you go to the friendly confines there, when it's straight blowing out, gusts upward of 40, as a pitcher, as a hitter, all right, things have to be done. I texted the boys and I said, I can't believe we're going to lose this over 11. It's 2-1 in the bottom of seventh, and then all hell breaks loose. What was more ridiculous for you, the way that game ends from a total standpoint, or what we saw from the Reds yesterday, putting up 24 against Baltimore?
I mean, both can be true. I know that's a very lazy statement, but yes, both things can be true at the same time. Listen, that Friday game was nuts because I, like you, had the over, just like everybody and their cousin had the over. I'm sitting there in the eighth inning losing my mind going, wow, the under's hitting by 4 runs. What the hell? I get that Corbin Burns was on the mound, but looking at that flagpole in center field, it looked like they were on the moon. It was insane to see nothing take place. And then all of a sudden, the barrage of 20 runs. I was having the time of my life watching this. And by the way, I had the time of my life and I got a bad beat out of it because I had the D-backs on the run line, not to mention the over on the game. So when the D-backs take the lead, I'm like, Daddy's feeling good, baby. Let's go. And then, of course, Seiya Suzuki comes up and says, never mind, and hits a bomb to center field. Dude, it was awesome to watch. You know what? I'm okay with having bad beats. As long as I get good baseball out of it. I'm one of those guys that likes to play sprinkles. I don't place huge, gigantic bets. It's $5 here, $10 here, $20 here, and it gives me just a little bit more to ride on these games. I am not living and dying on my bets, thank God. I live and die on good baseball.
You saw some good baseball, and yeah, I'm with you on that. The D-backs put out a little bit of I'd say a little premature text, by the way, after that 10 runs in the eighth inning. Like, I know you guys didn't have to deal with that a lot as players here with social media, but let's just wait till the game's over here, guys. It's just one inning, and all of a sudden you give it up in the bottom half of the eighth, and then Kyle Tucker ends that thing for Chicago. What's the bigger surprise to you? I look up at the Metropolitans, and I love what I'm seeing out of the pitching staff, and it is fantastic. Is it fool's gold? Can it really last? Because you lost 2 starters before you ever began the year, and yet the Mets starting pitching has been sensational.
I think it's fool's gold, but I can't deny the numbers that they've been putting up. It's factual. But here's the thing. I also think on the opposite ends, it's fool's gold to think that the Braves are going to finish last in this division. I do not think they are. In fact, there they are. They just went ahead and completed a sweep, and they've won a few games as of late, 6 out of their last 10, not to mention they're 8-13. This was a team that lost their first 7 games of the year. But yeah, the Mets right now, first place, 15-7. I do not expect them to be a first-place team. I think they're going to be a bubble playoff team when it's all said and done. If their pitching can maintain, not to mention on top of that, we'll see how things go when the trade deadline comes around, but we have to assume because they've made no actual moves in the pitching market that they're going to be anywhere available for the actual trade deadline. But then again, who are the guys that are going to be trading anybody? There's only 2 teams in Major League Baseball that are out of it and will remain out of it, and that is simply just what? The Rockies and the White Sox. I looked at their pitching staffs, don't want any of them.
Speaking of the White Sox, Cody, and I know in the minor leagues, perhaps you and I were part of one of those early summer school kid times where it was a 10 a.m. start. The tradition, unlike any other here in Major League Baseball, is Patriots Day today in Boston with the Boston Marathon. The Red Sox always play at 11 o'clock Eastern time. First, handicap it from a hitting standpoint, like getting the body clock moving and just trying to fire everything. We know traditional day games usually at 1 o'clock, but a couple hours earlier. How does it affect you as a hitter? And then how do you look at just this overall matchup, knowing the Red Sox going up against one of the worst teams in baseball?
Well, One, I'll take a prop on Alex Bregman, first things first, but also on top of that, the under, because no one's going to be. My body hurts right now thinking about picking up a bat and swinging a bat at 11 a.m. And by the way, I'm one of the few that loved those 11 a.m. games. I am very much in the minority. I loved being done with a professional baseball game at 1 p.m. Thank you. But yes, the first few innings leaves a lot to be desired. No one wants to be there. Everyone's miserable. But yeah, I'm taking Alex Bregman. He has a small sample size against Cannon, but it's 2 for 4. And Alex Bregman's done amazing things for this team already, and I think he will continue to do so. I got the Red Sox being a much better team than they're even playing right now. And yes, the White Sox are once again the top 2 worst teams in Major League Baseball. Thank God the Rockies are here, huh? I'm sure that's what Will Venable says every morning.
We have an interesting series starting tonight in Cleveland right there for Jensen. That's the Yankees and the Guardians. And if I said to you right now, Cody, if you can get back in the box and you could go up against either Clase or Devin Williams, 2 what we thought were going to be elite closers, and both these guys are struggling mightily right now, which of those faulty closers would you rather face?
Clase. Right now, Clase just seemingly, whatever happened last October must have broken him. This is a guy that should have won the Cy Young in the American League last year. You can make a legitimate argument for that. Guy gave up no runs all season long. Now he can't stop. It's fascinating to see how he's fallen off so hard. Now I do think he'll get it back together, but quite frankly, if I'm getting in the box, I'm going to take on a guy that I know is going to eventually throw me speed. Devin Williams, I don't want to deal with that changeup all that much. I know it's going to require some chase, but if I have a guy that I know is giving up runs and needs to get ahead with his fastball, I'll take the guy that's got to get ahead with his fastball, and that would be Clase.
A scary moment last night, obviously, on Sunday Night Baseball for people that didn't see it. Louis Arise going into first base had to be carted off. We hope for the best for him. But on the flip side of that, now affects kind of lineup construction, right, Cody, for the Padres, who best record in baseball, 16-6. He has been so critical, along with Tatis and Machado in their early success. As a guy in a clubhouse, and I know we had to deal with this with certain injuries in Cleveland, how do you expect San Diego to kind of change a little bit of where they go from the top of the lineup, and if Arise is out for a significant amount of time, not only offensively but defensively as well?
I do think it's a problem. I mean, anytime you lose in a Luis Urias, it's an issue for any offense. This guy gets on base. He lives on base practically. But yeah, thank God he was waving at the crowd on his way out. I wouldn't be shocked if the Padres take a mild hit. I don't think they're going to fall off a cliff or anything like that, but they are taking on the Tigers, who are playing some pretty damn good baseball as of late. I expect the Padres to be right there toe-to-toe with the Dodgers all season long. I do think the Dodgers will eventually get their hands on a 3-game lead as far as the season goes forward. But I wouldn't be surprised just because of you know how it goes. You lose a major player like that, it's easy to hit a lull for just 1 week. I'm not saying they're going to drop 7 in a row, but I wouldn't be surprised if they play some 500 ball for the next 5-6 days.
Milwaukee and San Francisco will begin a series tonight. It's the last series to begin in the last game on the board tonight. We saw the way the Giants gagged that one away yesterday against Anaheim. Yeah. Robbie Ray's going to be in the bump here. Good starts, though, for both these teams here. Can you just kind of get over that bad loss yesterday for your San Francisco by throwing out one of your aces out here against Milwaukee?
I mean, they better. They got 140 more of these, and if they can't get past a bad loss, it's going to be a terrible season, considering the fact they're in the NL West. The NL West is just such a juggernaut right now. As of right now, if the season ended today, you probably have 4 playoff teams. And by the way, I'm not putting it past the NL West that we're going to have 4 playoff teams at the end of the season out of there. The one team that I could see on the outside looking in is the San Francisco Giants. I mentioned that trade deadline a few months away. That's the team that I'm really most excited for because I need them to do something. This is a team that lost out on Arson Judge. This is a team that lost out on Carlos Correa. This is a team that just lost out on Blake Snell coming back on the team. For the love of God, this team needs to pick up a star.
4 in the bottom of the 9th to lose to Anaheim yesterday. Cody, you get up on a Monday morning and you bring that energy. We appreciate it, my friend. Have a great rest of your getaway day here for some of those people and the Patriots Day in Boston.
Dude, they lost to the Angels. What are you doing?
4 in the 9th, baby. We are back to the NFL Draft. It's next here, VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
Back here, VSiN By The Books, Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. Great conversation with Cody Decker in the last segment, getting up early as we like to do on a Monday morning, kickstarting the show. And back to the NFL draft we go, because we got 3 days to go here. Again, going to keep telling you guys, out here in Vegas, Wednesday, they're pulling them down. Don't get mad at Jeffrey Benson here, Circa, or any of these Mike Palm. It's not on them. It's got state laws that are required to be fulfilled. I look at Seattle in the West at 18, and I go, then that's a pretty intriguing football team. And again, these are the last of the non-wild card teams and or playoff teams, right? So you can make the case the number you don't want every year is 18, because you were just on the outside looking in for the postseason, and because you still had a 10-win season that they had in year one for Mike McDonald and company. That's a pretty good first year out there in the Pacific Northwest, replacing Pete Carroll. Of course, now Pete, after his 1 year out, he's back out here at the desert with the Raiders. 8.5 is that win total. It's juiced to the under at $1.40. To win the West is plus 550. 35 to 1 to win the NFC. I'm not sure I'd go there. But I guess the question's going to be when you basically get rid of your wide receiver room, right? DK Metcalf is now in Pittsburgh, and Tyler Lockett, you let him go. And so you got Jackson Smith and Jigba. We get that. And he looks like a stud in the making here. But you did get rid of a lot of talent. Geno Smith is gone. You're going to go to Sam Darnold. I mean, there's a lot of change going on here, Jensen. And I think with a second-year head coach and a GM, quite frankly, in John Schneider that I trust from a betting perspective, look at the picks they've amassed with a lot of those trades. 18, but then 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 2 in the seventh. Jensen, to say that this is an important draft, especially in those first 4 rounds, I think would be an understatement.
No doubt about it. So here the current construction for them, losing the receiving core you talked about in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So now you get what we believe is going to be a motivated Cooper Kupp coming in. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to be in there as well. Certainly a far cry from the 3-headed monster that JSN would have been number 3, number 2 in some respects with the old guard. Noah Fant tight end there, so you could envision getting another receiving tight end too. But it's the offensive line, right? Mm-hmm. I think you look at last year, some of the pass blocking statistics: 21st in pass block win rate, 28th in run block win rate. And Kenneth Walker III actually still had a pretty decent year. Yeah. Had some injuries to deal with. Zach Charbonnet, boy, what a great handcuff for you fantasy owners to have there, because he was so involved in that offense. But yeah, to me, it feels like offensive line in round 1. And then knowing you have at least a little draft capital for those picks, multiple picks in round 2 and round 3, they won't be shocked maybe if they package to get back up in to the end of round 1 if they find someone they like. But man, they're sitting pretty right there for not only the depth options, but guys that they can plug and play potentially from those round 2 selections as well. Yeah,
I mentioned it with John Schneider as the GM that, like, for me, when I'm watching on the outside looking in, I trust the direction. You can see what they did, right? They didn't want to pay DK the big deal to keep him, so they moved him. You get picks back here as well, and you let Tyler Lockett go. Maybe a really good player for a lot of years, but maybe best days behind him. I'll be very interested to see what Cooper Kupp has left. He says he's got a lot left. If that's the case, you wonder how much of a fall off it looks like, because we're talking about Cooper Kupp could have been MVP of the league not that long ago here. So he's got a plan, John Schneider, and certainly that is to get as many picks as possible to get those 2 in the second, 2 in the third. When I look at the quarterback room, and that's always going to be the elephant in the room, it's Sam Darnold now. And so now that you bring in Sam, you bring Drew Lock back. He's going to be the backup there. Sam Howell also, and Jaron Hall's on this roster as well. So you feel like you've got depth at this position. Not sure how good the depth is, but you do have depth in guys that have played in the league. Who is Sam Darnold? Is he somebody that we now trust in the betting market? Because if you do, and you trust now that they hit on some of these picks with 5 in the first 3 rounds to help refortify either that offensive line and or that defense you got needs at safety and corner and D-line that we talked about, I don't think it's a terrible play to take that plus money in the over 8.5. The division is good. We know the Rams are good. We assume the Niners are going to be better. Feels like the Cardinals are good as well. But Jensen, this was a 4-horse race in the final month of the season a year ago. Ultimately, of course, they don't get there and the Rams get home and win the division. But is that playable to you at plus $1.15? Because you don't find a lot of plus money. And this is a team at 9 wins. I could easily see them being at least a 9-8 win team again this year.
All right, so let's do our usual workshop here. Do you feel they can get to 500 in that division, knowing who they're going to go up against? So that's the first question. What do you think?
Well, 10 wins a year ago, which I was really impressed by, and I was on the Rover ticket last year, so those did get home, which was nice. Did not get home on the 6-1, which I played mid-season, by the way, because I saw they had 2 against Arizona. They won those 2 games against Arizona. Arizona, as late as December, people might have forgotten this, they were the favorites in first place to win the division.
6-4, right? Yeah.
So it's like, and I get it. The Niners, because of all the injuries, and they took a back seat last year because of that. I don't know that it's as simple to just say, yes, the Niners are right back. I know they're the betting favorites to win this division, but I actually think that this is going to be another kind of jumbled race. Can they get to 3-3 in the division? If they do that, you got to get 6 out of it. I think that's very plausible.
So 3-3 in the division at the very least. Rest of the home schedule: Tampa Bay, Houston, Indianapolis, Minnesota. I would say that you could probably sneak out another 1, maybe 2, because as we know, that home field advantage there, one of the tougher environments to have to play. That is a real thing. Can they go on the road, do you think, into an Atlanta or a Carolina or Jacksonville? You're just thinking of teams with younger quarterbacks or the first-year head coach. What is Liam Cohen able to do with Trevor Lawrence there in Jacksonville? So, yeah, as you kind of discussed, they're going to Tennessee. So we'll see with Cam Ward. This may be one of those win totals, Dave, that we really will have to wait until that schedule comes out. How front-loaded is it in the division? Where do they have some of these road games? At what point in the calendar season? They still have to go to Washington, too. So anxious to see what that kind of lines up with. But you have a really motivated group. Sam Darnold's going to be motivated. Cooper Kupp's going to be motivated. Everyone's going to forget about them and just say you lost way too much. And we know how dangerous that can be for a locker room in the NFL.
I think there's a very manageable schedule, at least on paper, and you'll figure out. But, give me Jacksonville. Give me those bad teams early, right? I kind of want to play those teams early, and certainly teams that have, as you mentioned there, influx with the coaching staff, with Liam Cohen, because you kind of want to take care of them before they figure it out, if they're going to figure it out. So you hope that that's going to be a little bit front-loaded to their advantage. But, yeah, that's going to be a play-on team for me again this year. And I'm not going to shy away. We know the Rams are better, and we saw what they did to ultimately win the division. But I still feel like it's a coach, it's a front office, and a quarterback in Sam Darnold. And by the way, that was my biggest play last year, was over Minnesota, 7.5, 8.5. Those all easily get home with Minnesota having an unbelievable year. Now, you take Sam out of that environment and you put him here. I don't think they're making that move for Darnold unless they believe last year was not fool's gold. How much of that would be your concern that Sam reverts back to the Sam, the Carolina Sam, the Jet Sam, instead of the Minnesota Sam?
Well, it is a plausible part here, especially if they don't address the offensive line. That's why I think your first round pick has to be someone that you can plug and play and can really help not only protect him, but also allow the facilitation of that run game. And Kenneth Walker, more than capable. Zach Charbonnet, we know as well. That's a nice little two-headed monster to be able to run out there. I just saw an idea. I'll throw it out to you as well. Boy, what an Ohio State reunion it could be if in round 2, and I know he's still got to be there to get him, but if Emeka Egbuka is there at 50, or if they have to find a way to trade up a little bit, you put Jackson Smith and Jigba on one side, you put Emeka on the other, you get Cooper Kupp. You might have the shortest receiving core in history, but you may have some of the crisp route running that has been so synonymous with explosion here in NFL passing games. That in and of itself, you give a third downfield option, or at least in the midfield, allow Noah Fant to kind of do one-on-one. You start to kind of dream on it a little bit the way you're talking about it. Now that they have the multiple picks, I think it helps them a lot.
They've got the draft capital to do it, or if they get one of those receivers that they want early in the second, you've got the capital to maybe move up to get that guy if you feel like he's going to slip off the board. That's an intriguing team to me this year. Again, normally you lean towards unders in a lot of these. That's one of that plus money at plus $1.15. I think you might be able to get home with at least 9 wins, and if they get those 9 wins, they're in play to win the division, because I do think that's going to be a 4-horse race. We are going to be covering the draft here on Thursday. You got to tune in from sun up to sundown. It's going to be a great day here at VSiN. We got 2 special live shows going to break down every pick from a betting perspective. VSiN Primetime Draft Edition is going to start at 7 p.m. That's going to be followed by Cashing Out Edition at 11 p.m. Eastern, plus the NFL Draft Hub on the VSiN Watch app. It's going to give you the analysis you're looking for, team needs and insights. Visit VSiN.com/draft for all the coverage and stream it live on the VSiN Watch app. Hour number 2, highlights and headlines coming up next.